Hello, and it's time for the Greek of the week. And we are finishing up Luke 1 in my podcast. And so I decided to do the first few verses of the Magnificat. Magnificat is Latin for it magnifies, and it is the Latin translation of megalune, which means it magnifies. All right, so let's dive right in. And Mary said, Kai apen Mariam, and Mary said, again, in English, we would say, well, isn't it he said to Mary? This is a beginner's Greek mistake where you assume that the word order is how to translate it. Well, that's an English thing. In Greek, it doesn't matter. The word order is not as important. And so Mary is the subject here. And Mary said, apen is aping an aorist. It's aorist of Lego to say. You may say, well, it doesn't look like Lego. Well, does was look like is, or does went look like go? These are some of the most basic words in a language are often the most irregular. So this is called a second aorist because it's not regular. And here it's simply saying, she said. And Mary said, a nu with an epsilon in front of it is often a movable nu. Throw it away. It's just for sound. It makes the sound flow sometimes. Epsilon's a very common third person singular ending, past tense ending, active indicative ending. So it's aorist active indicative third singular from Lego, this particular word. And Mary said, quote, no quote here. Now, some Greek New Testaments capitalize at the beginning of a quote. Maybe I should have capitalized the mu, but the text I was taking this copying and pasting from didn't capitalize it. But megalune, he psukemu. My soul doth magnify the Lord, ton kurion. Third person singular present active indicative, it magnifies. And again, the subject comes after it. My soul magnifies. Luke may be imitating a Hebrew style here. I don't think that, given the way ancient history writing worked, I don't think we should assume that this is exactly what Mary said, although it could be. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying that given ancient historiography, it would not in any way be expected even that this is exactly what Mary said historically. It is a presentation as much as it is a historical artifact. That's at least that's the way ancient history worked. So my soul magnifies the Lord. This is accusative. He psuke is the subject. It's nominative. That's how we know. We look at these letters at the end and it tells us what it's doing. It's like a little puzzle. So these endings, a, eta, eta, tell us this is the subject. It's feminine, nominative, singular. The omicron nu tells us it's the object, masculine, accusative case. We say it's in the case. In English, if you know grammar, it's called the objective case, but it's the accusative case is what it's called in Greek grammar. So my soul magnifies the Lord, Kai, and egaliasen to pneumamu, epi to theo to soterimu. Okay, and my spirit, the spirit of me, rejoiced. Now, this is interesting. It's usually translated, it rejoices. Sometimes this is called a, I don't know, a dramatic aorist. That's a dramatic way to put it, isn't it? But it basically, the aorist here doesn't indicate past time, but it indicates, I think, probably a certain definitiveness to it. Indeed. But again, the epsilon nu here, movable nu, throw it away. Epsilon, third person singular, past tense, and the sigma epsilon is aorist past tense. Well, aorist tense. It doesn't mean past here. Tense isn't primarily about time in Greek. It's about the kind of action. This is punctiliar action, or better yet, undefined action. Aorist active indicative third singular from agaliazo, which is not ugly, it's rejoice. This eta is a augment because verbs that begin with a vowel in the aorist indicative lengthen the vowel or fry the vowel, as I say. So it was an alpha in the dictionary, but it got fried into an eta because of the aorist tense. My spirit rejoices in God, in the God, in God. We don't have to say the God because we only worship one God. They had other gods on the market back then. My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior. Now, soter, soteri, is telling us about God. God is in the dative case, so Savior is in the dative case. That's called apposition. Okay. Hoti eblepsen epitain tapenosin tes doules. And I don't know how your screen shows it. My face is covering doules, but I'm not going to move my screen. It may not be in the same place for you anyway. Because Hoti, he looked, that is God, looked upon the humility of his servant girl, or upon the humiliation of his servant girl. There's a sense of, this is a very common thing in Luke, the reversal of role, that the humble shall be exalted and the exalted shall, every valley shall be exalted and every hill made, brought low. That is a sense of Luke's gospel, a reversal of status, that the low become exalted and the haughty become brought down. He hath scattered the imagination of the proud in the, anyway, in the imagination of their hearts. Okay, he looked upon the humility of his servant girl. Okay, epeblepsen. For those of you who've had a little bit of Greek, you may see blepo in there. This is epiblepo. There's the epsilon nu again, so it's a past tense, it's third singular. Psi is the key to a hidden sigma. And so sigma epsilon is aorist. So this is aorist, active, indicative, third singular from epiblepo. And the augment that goes with the aorist is right here, because with compound verbs, it doesn't put the augment on the front. With compound verbs, it puts the augment right before the core word, and the core word here is blepo. Epiblepo is a compound verb, and so the augment goes in front of the core word. Okay, he looked upon the humiliation, or the humility, these feminine accusative singular, of his servant girl, to his, of him, the servant girl of him. Idu gar, for behold, gar is always a little late. You know people like this, they're always a little late. Gar is always a little late. It's procrastinator. We call that a post-positive. It never comes where it's supposed to in our English translation, at least. For behold, api tu noon, from the now, makari usin me, will bless me, pasai hai genei, all the generations. Now, pasai hai genei is nominative feminine singular. So this is the subject. Nominative means subject. Even though it comes second, Luke is putting on a Hebrew style here, it feels like. I had a German friend. Now, German puts words in a completely different order from English. I had a German friend who occasionally, for fun, would put German words, would speak German in the English order, much to the frustration of his German friends, just putting the words in exactly the wrong order. But here it's beautiful. Luke is beautifully giving us the kind of, a little bit at least. I don't think Luke probably knows Hebrew or Aramaic, so he's putting it in that kind of format. He's been around Paul long enough, or whoever, to know, man, these Jewish individuals from Palestine talk funny Greek. He's kind of, anyway, but it's beautiful. It is beautiful here. For from the now will bless me all the generations. Now, makari usin is the last word we want to talk about. It's present tense. Makari ao, I would guess. So an omicron stem is what I would guess. Could be an epsilon stem, but I'm guessing an omicron stem. And it is crashed into the ending usi. Usi is third person singular. Now I put will bless, but I think it's a present tense. So bad on me for the literal translation, but we get the sense. The sense is it's talking about the future, even though it literally says, for behold, from the now, all the generations are blessing me. It's a futuristic present. There is such a thing, believe it or not. But it's present active indicative third plural from Makari a-o, I think. All right, well, this has been our weekly Greek, a little bit from the Magnificat of Luke chapter 1.